This intense, regimented lifestyle created an unprecedented demand for quick, affordable meals. The traditional model of food preparation simply couldn't keep up. Women, who had historically been the primary food preparers in the home, were now often working in factories themselves, leaving even less time for domestic duties. The family unit, once a self-sufficient economic and culinary entity, was being fractured by the demands of industrial labor. So, what did you do for lunch? You couldn't just pop home. You certainly couldn't afford to waste precious minutes cooking. He convinces the brothers to let him become their franchising agent, and the rest, as they say, is history. Kroc opens his first McDonald's restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois, in 1955. This isn't just another restaurant opening. It's the launchpad for a culinary revolution. He doesn't just copy the speedy service system. He refines it, standardizes it, and, crucially, he sells it. He sells the idea of consistency, of a meal that tastes exactly the same whether you're in Illinois or California. This was a radical concept at the time. Before this, restaurants were often idiosyncratic, their quality varying widely from one location to the next. Hey guys, tonight we're going to dim the lights. Perhaps light a candle if you're feeling extra cozy, and delve into a history that might make you think twice about your next drive-thru run. Imagine, if you will, the golden arches shimmering in the distance, a beacon of convenience, a promise of instant gratification. You can almost taste that salty, crispy perfection, can't you? The soft bun, the tangy sauce, the satisfying crunch. It's a modern marvel, a testament to efficiency. But what if I told you the craving for speed, for instant sustenance, is as old as civilization itself? What if the roots of your late-night burger craving stretch back further than any corporate boardroom, deeper than any marketing campaign? You might think you're just grabbing a quick bite, but you're actually participating in a culinary ritual thousands of years in the making. And let's be honest, if you were living in, say, ancient Rome, and you had to rely on their version of fast food, you probably wouldn't survive the week. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, if you're listening, drop a comment below with your location and local time. It's always fascinating to see where everyone's tuning in from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The early McDonald's restaurants under Kroc's guidance were designed for maximum efficiency and appeal. The Golden Arches, which had been a design element of the original San Bernardino restaurant, became a prominent, iconic symbol, visible from a distance, drawing customers in like a beacon. The focus remained on the limited menu: burgers, fries, shakes, ensuring that the assembly line process could be maintained without compromise. Every detail was meticulously planned, from the size of the burger patty to the precise cooking time of the fries. It was about creating a repeatable, predictable experience. You find yourself standing on a dusty, bustling street in ancient Rome. The year is, let's say, 79 AD. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke, sweat, and something vaguely resembling roasted meat. The cacophony of chariot wheels on cobblestones, merchants hawking their wares, and the chatter of 1,000 voices washes over you. Your stomach rumbles, a familiar modern complaint in a very ancient setting. But where do you go for a quick bite? There's no golden arch in sight, no glowing menu board. Instead, you spot a thermopolium, a Roman fast food joint, its counter opening directly onto the street. It's not exactly gleaming stainless steel, more like a rough stone counter with large earthenware jars, called dolia, embedded within. These aren't for holding sodas, mind you, but for keeping food warm: stews, dried beans, perhaps some boiled eggs, and certainly a variety of spiced wines. A common historical fact about this period is that Ray Kroc famously emphasized quality, service, cleanliness, and value, QSC&V, as the guiding principles for McDonald's. This wasn't just marketing jargon, it was a strict operational philosophy. Franchisees were expected to adhere to these standards rigorously. ensuring that every McDonald's experience was identical. This unwavering commitment to consistency was a key factor in its rapid success and its ability to build consumer trust. You knew exactly what you were getting, every single time. And in a rapidly changing world, that predictability was comforting. You lean in, peering into the murky depths of Adoleum. The steam rises, carrying the aroma of something hearty, if a little unidentifiable. The proprietor, a burly Roman with a stained apron, gestures impatiently. You point to a bubbling concoction, hoping for the best. He ladles a portion into a small clay bowl, hands it to you, and you pay with a few sestertii. This isn't fine dining, not by a long shot. This is grab and go. Sustenance for the masses, for those who lived in cramped insular apartment buildings without kitchens, or for weary travelers, or simply for anyone too busy to cook. It's the ultimate convenience food of its era, designed for speed and accessibility. The Roman Empire, with its vast cities and intricate social structures, practically demanded it. Imagine trying to feed a city of 1 million people without some form of ready-made meals. It would be pure chaos. An obscure detail from this era, Ray Kroc was incredibly particular about the fries. He insisted on a specific type of potato, a precise cutting method, and a 2-stage frying process to ensure they were always perfectly crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. He even developed a fry computer to regulate the cooking process. It sounds obsessive, but it highlights the lengths to which they went to ensure every single item on the limited menu was consistently perfect. Imagine the pressure on those early fry cooks, knowing Ray Kroc might show up unannounced to inspect their potato perfection. Probably more stressful than a pop quiz. This isn't just a Roman phenomenon, though. If you journey further back, to the bustling markets of ancient Egypt, you'd find similar scenes. Bakers would be selling fresh bread, still warm from the oven, often alongside simple pastries or perhaps some dried fish. You could grab a loaf and be on your way, fueling your day of pyramid building or papyrus scribing. The concept of a quick meal, something portable and easily acquired, was ingrained in the very fabric of early urban life. It wasn't about leisure, it was about necessity. You needed energy to work, to build, to survive, and often, you didn't have the time or resources for elaborate home cooking. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, if the first human to toast a piece of bread over a fire and eat it on the run was the true progenitor of fast food? Probably not, but it's a fun thought experiment. The academic debate surrounding Ray Kroc often centers on his legacy. Was he a visionary who democratized food, or a ruthless businessman who exploited others' ideas? Some historians argue that Kroc's genius lay in his ability to see the potential in the McDonald brothers system and his relentless drive to scale it. They credit him with building the modern fast food industry through his franchising model and his emphasis on standardization. Others contend that he essentially took credit for the McDonald brothers' innovation and, through aggressive business tactics, eventually pushed them out of the company they founded. It's like arguing whether a conductor is more important than the composer. Both play crucial roles, but their contributions are distinct. The Mesopotamians, too, had their versions of quick eats. Taverns in ancient Sumeria weren't just for drinking. They often served simple, hearty fare like barley cakes, stews, and roasted meats. You could stop in, quickly refuel, and then get back to whatever ancient Mesopotamian duties awaited you, like inventing writing or building ziggurats. These were the original drive-thrus, except instead of a car, you were probably on foot, or perhaps riding a donkey if you were feeling fancy. The fundamental human need for readily available calories, especially in societies where labor was physically demanding and time was precious, drove these early culinary innovations. It's a common historical fact that the Roman thermopolia served as vital social and culinary hubs for the working class, offering hot food and drink at affordable prices. As McDonald's began its rapid expansion, other entrepreneurs and existing restaurant owners quickly took notice. The success of the speedy service system was undeniable, and soon, a wave of imitators and innovators began to emerge, eager to capture a piece of the burgeoning fast food pie. This was the true rise of the chains. Now, let's fast forward a bit. Through the fall of empires and the rise of new ones, into the medieval period. You're trudging through the muddy streets of a medieval European town. The air is damp. The smells are, well, let's just say, they're distinct. You're hungry, and cooking at home involves a hearth, a lot of smoke, and a fair bit of effort. So, what do? You head to the market square, where vendors are hawking their wares. You might find a cellar with a steaming pot of pottage, a thick stew made from whatever vegetables and scraps of meat were available, or perhaps a baker selling fresh loaves of bread, maybe even some simple meat pies. These weren't gourmet meals. They were sustenance, designed to be filling and cheap. The concept of fast was relative when, of course, you weren't getting it in 30 seconds or less, but it was certainly quicker than butchering a pig and slow roasting it yourself. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, founded by Colonel Harlan Sanders, began franchising in the early 1950s, offering a different kind of fast food fried chicken. Sanders, a charismatic figure, perfected his secret recipe and a pressure frying method that allowed for quick, consistent cooking of chicken. While different from McDonald's in terms of product, KFC shared the same core principles: a limited, specialized menu, a focus on speed and consistency, and a scalable franchising model. You could get your bucket of chicken just as quickly as your burger, and it tasted the same whether you were in Kentucky or Kansas. The ale houses, too, played a crucial role. While primarily for drinking, many offered simple meals to accompany the ale. You could get a hunk of bread and cheese, or perhaps some roasted fowl if you had a few extra coins. These establishments were the social centers, the places where news was exchanged, deals were struck, and hunger was temporarily satiated. The idea of a specialized restaurant as we know it today was still centuries away, but the seeds of convenience were being sown. It's fascinating to consider how these early forms of public eating establishments shaped the social fabric. You didn't just eat. You interacted. You networked. You gossiped. It was the original social media, but with more spilled ale. Then came Burger King, founded in 1953, which introduced the Whopper and the concept of flame broiling, differentiating itself from McDonald's griddle-cooked burgers. Dairy Queen, established in 1940, focused on soft-serve ice cream, expanding rapidly through franchising. Pizza Hut, 1958, and Domino's, 1960, brought the concept of fast, standardized pizza to the masses, often with delivery services. Each of these chains found its niche, but all operated on the fundamental principles pioneered by the McDonald brothers and scaled by Kroc Limited Menu. Standardized preparation, speed, consistency, and a strong brand identity. An obscure detail from this period. Well, did you know that in medieval London, there were specific regulations about what street vendors could sell and when? For instance, certain types of cooked meats could only be sold at specific times to prevent spoilage and ensure public health. Imagine a medieval health inspector, probably armed with a very stern look and a surprisingly sharp cleaver. It highlights that even in less technologically advanced times, there was an understanding, however rudimentary, of the need for some form of food safety when selling to the public. The struggle between speed, cost, and safety has always been a part of the food industry. It seems the smells of this era would have been a delightful mix of grilling burgers, crispy fries, fried chicken, and the sweet aroma of soft-serve ice cream. Each chain developed its own signature scent, a subtle but powerful part of its brand identity. The sounds would be the cheerful jingle of cash registers, the whir of milkshake machines, the sizzle of fryers, and the happy chatter of families enjoying a quick, affordable meal. It was an optimistic soundscape, reflecting the post-war prosperity and the promise of a convenient future. As we move into the early modern period, the 17th and 18th centuries, you start to see the emergence of more formalized public eating places. Coffee houses, for instance, became incredibly popular, not just for the stimulating new beverage, but also for the light meals and snacks they offered. You could grab a pastry, a sandwich, or a simple hot dish alongside your coffee. These were places of intellectual discourse, business dealings, and social gatherings, all fueled by quick, accessible food and drink. They were the Starbucks of their day, but with more powdered wigs and fewer pumpkin spice lattes. The proliferation of these chains had a profound impact on American society. They became ubiquitous landmarks, often located along newly built highways and in burgeoning suburban developments. They offered reliable, affordable meals for families on the go, for teenagers cruising in their cars, and for workers grabbing a quick lunch. They became symbols of American efficiency and consumerism, spreading across the landscape like edible kudzu. Inns and taverns also evolved, offering more comprehensive menus for travelers and locals alike. While some offered elaborate multi-course meals, many also provided simpler, faster options for those on the go. The concept of a chop house emerged, where you could get a quick, cooked portion of meat. The desire for speed and efficiency in food service was clearly growing, driven by increasing urbanization and a more mobile population. People were traveling more, working longer hours, and had less time for traditional home cooking. The world was speeding up, and food had to keep pace. The franchising model was crucial to this rapid expansion. It allowed entrepreneurs to invest in a proven business model, leveraging the brand recognition and operational expertise of the parent company. While the parent company could expand rapidly without incurring all the capital costs themselves, it was a win-win, accelerating the spread of fast food across the nation at an astonishing pace. It was a bit like a virus, but a delicious, profitable one. One of the ongoing academic debates among historians is whether the concept of fast food as a distinct industry truly began with the Roman thermopolia, or if it's a more modern phenomenon tied to industrialization and mass production. Some argue that the fundamental principles, quick preparation, high volume, low cost, and accessibility, were present in ancient times, merely adapted to the technology and social structures of the era. Others contend that the true fast food revolution required the assembly line, standardized ingredients, and a globalized supply chain. It's a bit like arguing whether a horse-drawn carriage is the same as a car because they both get you from point A to point B. The function is similar, but the underlying mechanisms and scale are vastly different. The rise of television also played a massive role. Fast food chains were among the first to embrace television advertising, beaming their catchy jingles and appealing images directly into American homes. Suddenly, the Golden Arches weren't just a local landmark, they were a national icon, a promise of consistent quality and fun. Kids, in particular, were targeted with colorful mascots and playful campaigns, creating brand loyalty from a young age. Think about it, the human desire for convenience is a constant. Whether you're a Roman legionary needing a quick meal before marching off to conquer Gaul, a medieval peasant trying to get through the day, or a modern office worker grabbing a burger between meetings, the underlying motivation is the same time is precious, and hunger needs to be sated efficiently. The methods change, the ingredients evolve, but the core need remains. This era also saw the standardization of ingredients and supply chains to ensure consistency across hundreds, then thousands of locations. Fast food chains needed reliable, high-volume suppliers. This led to the growth of massive food processing companies that could provide pre-cut fries, pre-formed burger patties, and standardized sauces. The entire food system began to adapt to the demands of the fast food industry, becoming more industrialized, more centralized. The smells of these ancient and medieval fast food establishments would have been quite different from what you encounter today. Instead of the distinct aroma of frying oil and processed meat, you'd likely be met with the earthy scent of grains, the pungent tang of fermented drinks, and the smoky notes of open-fire cooking. The textures, too, would be rougher, less refined. Bread would be dense, stews would be chunky, and meat would often be tough. It wasn't about culinary artistry, it was about calories and survival. Imagine trying to explain a chicken nugget to a Roman citizen. They'd probably be utterly baffled, and then slightly disgusted. You mean, it's not actually chicken? So, as you drift deeper into slumber, consider the sheer scale of this transformation. From a single, efficient restaurant in San Bernardino A wave of chains emerged, each perfecting its own niche, but all operating on the same fundamental principles of speed, consistency, and affordability. The landscape of America was forever changed, dotted with brightly lit signs and drive-through windows, offering a promise of instant gratification that would soon conquer the world. The stage is now set for this American phenomenon to go global, spreading its influence and its disturbing origins across continents, even in the most basic forms. These early convenience foods represented a significant societal shift. They freed people from the constant burden of food preparation, allowing them to dedicate more time to work, leisure, or simply surviving. This seemingly simple act of buying a ready-made meal had profound implications for urban development, labor practices, and social interaction. It created new industries, new jobs, and new ways of living. The street vendor, the tavern keeper, the baker. These were the original entrepreneurs of the food service industry, responding to a fundamental and growing demand. The golden arches now dot the American landscape, a familiar sight promising speed and consistency. But the sheer ubiquity of fast food wasn't just a result of efficient systems and franchising. It was also a triumph of psychology, a masterful campaign to embed these quick meals deep into the American psyche. You are now entering the era of Madison Avenue, the mid-20th century, where the art of persuasion would transform a simple hamburger into a symbol of convenience, happiness, and even patriotism. So, as you drift deeper into slumber, consider this the next time you pull up to a drive-through window. You're not just engaging with a modern corporation, you're participating in a timeless human ritual, a continuous thread that connects you to the bustling streets of ancient Rome, the muddy markets of medieval Europe, and the smoky coffee houses of the Enlightenment. The quest for quick, accessible sustenance is a story as old as humanity itself, a story that continues to evolve with every bite. Imagine yourself in a living room in the 1960s. The soft glow of a television set illuminating the faces of a family gathered around. Suddenly, a catchy jingle fills the air. A bright, upbeat tune about a magical place where smiles are served with every meal. You see animated characters, happy children, and smiling parents, all enjoying perfectly symmetrical burgers and golden fries. This isn't just an advertisement. It's an invitation, a carefully crafted narrative designed to tap into your deepest desires and anxieties. As the faint echoes of ancient Roman street vendors fade from your mind, you find yourself propelled forward through time, the air growing thicker with the smell of coal smoke and the distant clang of machinery. The year is now, let's say, 1850, and you are standing on the cusp of the Industrial Revolution. This isn't the gentle hum of a Roman thermopolium. This is the roar of progress, a seismic shift that fundamentally reshaped human life, work, and, inevitably, how we eat. The early marketing efforts of fast food chains were revolutionary in their approach. They weren't just selling food, they were selling a lifestyle, a feeling, a solution. They understood that, in a rapidly changing world, people craved simplicity, reliability, and a touch of joy. Fast food offered all of this. Packaged neatly and delivered with a smile, they targeted families, promising a hassle-free meal that everyone would love, a respite from the drudgery of cooking and cleaning. Remember the days when going out to eat was a big deal. Fast food made it an everyday possibility, a casual treat. Imagine yourself in a burgeoning industrial city, perhaps Manchester, England, or Lowell, Massachusetts. The sprawling factories dominate the skyline, their chimneys belching black smoke into the sky. The old rhythms of agrarian life, where work was dictated by the sun and seasons, are rapidly disappearing. Instead, thousands upon thousands of people are flocking from the countryside, drawn by the promise of steady wages in these new colossal mills and factories. You are one of them, perhaps a young man or woman, leaving behind the fields for the relentless clatter of the loom or the deafening clang of the forge. One of the most common historical facts about fast food marketing is the introduction of iconic mascots. Ronald McDonald, the cheerful clown, first appeared in the early 1960s, quickly becoming synonymous with McDonald's. He was a friendly, approachable figure designed to appeal directly to children, creating a powerful emotional connection from a young age. Kids would beg their parents to go to McDonald's, not just for the food, but for the chance to see Ronald, to play in the play place, or to get a Happy Meal toy. This was brilliant, almost insidious. Marketing, creating lifelong customers before they even knew what a calorie was. Your days are no longer your own. The factory whistle dictates your waking hours, your meal times, and your sleep. Shifts are long, often 12 to 14 hours, with precious little time for anything but work and a hurried commute to your cramped, often shared living quarters. There's no time for elaborate home cooking, no sprawling gardens to tend, no leisurely meals shared with family around a crackling fire. The very concept of leisure is becoming a luxury, almost an anachronism. You need food, and you need it fast. You need sustenance that can be consumed quickly, often on the factory floor or in a brief, noisy break room. But it wasn't just about mascots. Fast food advertising leveraged the power of repetition and memorable jingles. Think about the tunes that still get stuck in your head today, even if you haven't heard them in years. You deserve a break today at McDonald's. Have it your way at Burger King. These weren't just slogans. They were earworms, designed to burrow into your subconscious and trigger a craving whenever hunger struck. They connected the brand directly to positive emotions, happiness, freedom, a well-deserved break. Enter the street vendors, the purveyors of convenience, who adapted to this new, hungry populace. You'd see them on every corner, especially near factory gates, hawking their wares. Think about it: pies, pastries, boiled eggs, sausages, and simple sandwiches. These were not culinary masterpieces. They were calorie delivery systems, designed to be cheap, portable, and filling. You could grab a meat pie, still warm, and eat it on the go, perhaps while walking back to your workstation, or during a quick smoke break. It was the original lunch break dash, but without the luxury of a microwave or a vending machine, an obscure detail from this era. Some early fast food marketing campaigns even subtly played on the anxieties of housewives. With more women entering the workforce and the traditional roles shifting, there was a quiet pressure to maintain a perfect home while juggling new responsibilities. Fast food offered a convenient escape, a way to feed the family without the guilt of not cooking. Advertisements would sometimes show tired mothers looking relieved as they pulled into a drive-thru, implying that fast food was a helpful ally, not a culinary compromise. It was a clever, if a little manipulative, appeal to the changing social dynamics. The sheer scale of this new urban workforce was staggering. Cities swelled beyond anything previously imaginable, creating dense populations with specific, urgent needs. This concentration of people, combined with their lack of time and cooking facilities, was the perfect storm for the emergence of mass-produced, ready-to-eat food. It was a market ripe for exploitation, or, depending on your perspective, innovation. The entrepreneurs of this era weren't thinking about culinary trends. They were thinking about efficiency and volume. How do you feed thousands of hungry, time-pressed workers as quickly and cheaply as possible? That was the million-dollar question, or rather the shilling and pence question. The academic debate surrounding fast food marketing often questions the ethical implications of targeting children so aggressively. Some historians and social critics argue that these campaigns, with their bright colors, playful mascots, and toy giveaways, exploited children's impressionability, fostering unhealthy eating habits from a young age and contributing to the rise of childhood obesity. They contend that this was a deliberate strategy to create brand loyalty that would last a lifetime. Regardless of the nutritional consequences, others argue that it was simply good business, responding to consumer demand and providing entertainment, and that parental responsibility ultimately lies in guiding children's dietary choices. It's like arguing whether a toy company is responsible for a child's unhealthy obsession with collecting every single action figure. The influence is undeniable, but the ultimate responsibility is debatable. One common historical fact from this period is the rise of the pie man in British industrial cities. These vendors would walk through the streets, often with a large basket or a small cart, selling hot meat pies. These pies, often made with whatever scraps of meat were available, encased in a sturdy pastry crust, were the perfect portable meal. They were self-contained, easy to eat with your hands, and provided a decent amount of calories for a low price. You could just imagine the relief of a factory worker, grimy and exhausted, seeing the pie man approach, a glimmer of hot, savory sustenance in the dreary industrial landscape. It was a small comfort in a hard life. The smells associated with fast food marketing were carefully cultivated. Beyond the actual aroma of the food, the advertising created a mental scent, a promise of deliciousness. You'd see the steam rising from a perfectly grilled burger, the golden sheen of perfectly fried fries, and your brain would fill in the olfactory blanks. The sounds were equally important, the satisfying crunch of a bite, the cheerful jingle, the happy laughter of families. It was a multi-sensory assault, designed to make you hungry, even if you weren't. An obscure detail from this era, many of these early street foods were incredibly basic, often made with questionable ingredients, and hygiene standards were, shall we say, flexible. It wasn't uncommon for pies to contain more gristle and mystery meat than actual identifiable cuts. And the water used for boiling or washing, probably not sparkling clean. You were taking a bit of a gamble with every bite, a culinary Russian roulette. But when you're starving and exhausted, you don't exactly have the luxury of being a food critic. You just need to eat. It makes you appreciate modern food safety regulations, doesn't it? Even if you sometimes wonder about the ingredients in that mystery meat patty. As television became ubiquitous, fast food chains poured massive budgets into advertising, becoming some of the biggest advertisers in the country. They sponsored popular shows, ran commercials during prime time, and became an undeniable part of the cultural landscape. It was impossible to escape their message. Their logos became instantly recognizable, their jingles unforgettable. This constant exposure built brand recognition and trust, making fast food a default option for millions. The academic debate continues about whether the Industrial Revolution truly invented fast food or merely accelerated an existing trend. Some historians argue that the sheer scale of urban migration and factory work created a demand so vast and specific that it necessitated entirely new methods of food preparation and distribution, thus giving birth to the modern fast food concept. Others maintain that it was simply an evolution of the ancient thermopolium, adapting existing principles of convenience to a new technological and social context. It's like arguing whether a bicycle is a car because they both have wheels and move people. The function is similar, but the underlying mechanisms and scale are vastly different. Beyond direct advertising, fast food companies also engaged in subtle forms of marketing and community integration. They sponsored local sports teams, participated in community events, and became visible, friendly presences in towns across America. This fostered a sense of goodwill and made them seem like benevolent neighbors, rather than just faceless corporations. They weren't just selling food. They were selling belonging, a sense of community. Think about the sheer ingenuity, or desperation, that drove these early food entrepreneurs. They weren't just selling food, they were selling time. They were selling the ability for a worker to maximize their productivity, to avoid the time-consuming process of cooking. This was the true value proposition of early fast food. It was a time saver, a productivity enhancer. It allowed the wheels of industry to keep turning, fueled by cheap, quickly consumed calories. The concept of value was another powerful marketing tool. Fast food was positioned as an affordable option for families, a way to eat out without breaking the bank. The dollar menu and similar promotions reinforced this idea, making it seem like you were getting a great deal. This appeal to frugality, combined with the convenience, was irresistible to many consumers, especially those on tight budgets. It was a clever psychological trick, make people feel smart for choosing your product. The smells of this era would have been a stark contrast to the clean, sanitized aromas of modern fast food kitchens. You'd smell the acrid tang of coal smoke, the damp earthiness of unpaved streets, and the pungent, sometimes questionable odors emanating from the boiling pots and frying pans of street vendors. The air would be thick with the general miasma of a rapidly industrializing city, a blend of human sweat, horse manure, industrial chemicals, and the faint, tantalizing scent of something edible. It wasn't exactly an appetizing bouquet, but hunger is a powerful motivator. The drive-thru, too, was heavily marketed as the ultimate convenience. Advertisements showed busy parents easily picking up dinner on the way home, or hungry travelers quickly refueling without missing a beat. It was about saving time, reducing stress, and making life easier. The convenience wasn't just a feature, it was a core part of the brand message, a promise delivered with every transaction. Remember the sheer joy of pulling up to the window and having your food handed to you without ever leaving your car. That feeling was meticulously cultivated. As the 19th century progressed, the concept of the lunch counter began to emerge, particularly in America. These were often simple establishments, sometimes attached to general stores or saloons, offering quick meals for workers. You could sit on a stool, grab a bowl of stew, a sandwich, or a piece of pie, and be on your way in minutes. These were a step up from the street vendors, offering a bit more shelter and perhaps a slightly wider, if still basic, menu. They were the precursors to the diners and cafeterias that would become so ubiquitous in the next century. It's almost like they realized people might actually want to sit down for a minute while they ate. Revolutionary. I know. The psychological tactics employed by fast food marketers were incredibly effective. They understood human behavior, our desire for comfort, our need for speed, our love of a good deal, and our susceptibility to emotional appeals. They didn't just sell food, they sold solutions to modern problems, wrapped in bright colors and accompanied by catchy tunes. They created a powerful craving, not just for the taste of the food, but for the entire experience. The development of new technologies also played a subtle but significant role. Improved transportation, like canals and later railroads, meant that food could be brought into cities more efficiently, increasing the supply for these burgeoning populations. Advancements in food preservation, though still rudimentary, also helped. Salting, smoking, and pickling allowed for some ingredients to be stored longer, making them more suitable for mass preparation and distribution. It was a slow, incremental process, but each small step contributed to the eventual explosion of the fast food industry. So, as you drift deeper into slumber, consider the invisible forces that guide your cravings. The next time you feel that familiar pull towards a fast food sign, remember the clever minds on Madison Avenue, the catchy jingles, the friendly mascots, and the carefully constructed narratives that have shaped your desires. It's a testament to the power of persuasion, a disturbing reminder of how deeply marketing can embed itself into our daily lives, transforming a simple meal into a complex psychological phenomenon. Consider the psychological impact of this new way of eating. For many, it was a liberation from the drudgery of home cooking, a small taste of freedom in a life otherwise dominated by rigid factory schedules. For others, it was a sign of declining living standards, a symbol of the loss of traditional culinary practices and family meals. It was both a convenience and a compromise, a reflection of the changing social landscape. The convenience of a quick meal came at the cost of communal dining, of the shared experience of preparing and enjoying food together. The catchy jingles and iconic mascots of Madison Avenue have done their work, embedding the Golden Arches and their competitors deep into the American consciousness. But the story doesn't end at the borders of the United States. You are now witnessing a new, even more profound transformation: the global expansion of fast food, a phenomenon that would spread American culinary concepts and all their associated implications across continents, changing diets and cultures forever. So, as you continue your journey through the annals of culinary history, remember the tireless workers of the Industrial Revolution, their stomachs rumbling, their time scarce. They were the unwitting pioneers of the fast food age, their hunger and their demanding lives creating the fertile ground for an industry that would one day feed billions. The seeds of convenience, sown in ancient times, truly began to blossom amidst the smoke and clang of the 19th century factory floor. Imagine yourself in, say, Tokyo, Japan, in the early 1970s. The bustling streets are a kaleidoscope of neon lights and vibrant energy. But amidst the traditional ramen shops and sushi counters, you spot something familiar, something distinctly American, the Golden Arches. It's a McDonald's, gleaming and inviting, a little piece of Americana transplanted onto foreign soil. You might walk in, curious, and find that while the menu is largely the same, there are subtle adaptations, hints of local flavor. This isn't just about selling burgers. It's about exporting a culture, a lifestyle, a way of eating. As the industrial smoke clears and the clang of factory machinery begins to recede, you find yourself transported across the Atlantic to a rapidly expanding nation, the United States of America, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The air here feels different, charged with a restless energy, a spirit of innovation, and an insatiable appetite for progress. This is a land of opportunity, of burgeoning cities, and of a population constantly on the move, chasing dreams and new horizons. And with this movement comes a familiar rumble, the sound of hungry stomachs demanding to be fed, quickly and efficiently. The global expansion of fast food wasn't a haphazard affair. It was a deliberate, strategic push by companies eager to tap into new markets and replicate their domestic success. After saturating the American market, the logical next step was to look overseas. The post-World War II era saw the rise of American economic and cultural influence, and fast food became an unwitting ambassador of this soft power. It represented efficiency, modernity, and a certain kind of accessible luxury that appealed to burgeoning middle classes around the world. You're walking down a bustling street in, say, New York City, around 1900. The sidewalks are teeming with people, immigrants arriving with hopes in their eyes, businessmen rushing to meetings, workers heading to their jobs, and shoppers navigating the crowded thoroughfares. Horse-drawn carriages still clatter by, but you're starting to see the occasional automobile, a noisy, sputtering harbinger of a new age. The sheer pace of life is accelerating, and the traditional, leisurely sit-down meal is becoming increasingly impractical for many. One of the most common historical facts about this global spread is that McDonald's opened its first international restaurant in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada, in 1967, followed quickly by locations in Costa Rica and Japan in the early 1970s. These early ventures were testaments to the adaptability of the fast food model. The speedy service system, refined by Ray Kroc, proved to be remarkably universal. The principles of standardized ingredients, efficient preparation, and consistent quality translated well across different cultures, even if the specific tastes sometimes required minor adjustments. This is where the seeds of American fast food truly begin to sprout, nurtured by a unique blend of ingenuity, necessity, and a growing consumer culture. The street vendors you saw in industrial England have made the journey, but here they evolve. You see pushcarts everywhere, selling everything from roasted chestnuts to pretzels. But two items, in particular, begin to dominate the quick-eat landscape: the humble hot dog and the burgeoning lunch counter. But it wasn't always a smooth transition. Imagine the challenges of sourcing ingredients in countries with different agricultural practices, or training staff in cultures with different work ethics and customer service expectations. There were logistical nightmares, cultural misunderstandings, and sometimes outright resistance. Yet the allure of the brand, the promise of convenience, and the sheer marketing muscle of these corporations often overcame these hurdles. They learned to adapt, to localize without losing their core identity. Imagine the aroma wafting from a hot dog stand. It's a distinct, savory scent of grilled frankfurters, perhaps a hint of sauerkraut, and the sharp tang of mustard. You approach a vendor, his cart a simple affair, but efficient. He grabs a bun, slits it open, nestles a plump, grilled hot dog inside, and asks what you'd like on it. A squirt of mustard, a dollop of relish, perhaps some onions. It's handed to you, warm and ready, in mere seconds. You pay a nickel, maybe a dime, and continue on your way, eating as you walk. It's the epitome of convenience, a meal that requires no plate, no utensils, and minimal interruption to your busy schedule. An obscure detail from this global expansion. In some early international markets, fast food chains faced significant challenges with local palates and customs. For instance, when McDonald's first entered India, they had to completely re-engineer their menu to avoid beef due to religious sensitivities and pork. This led to the creation of the Makaloo Tikki burger, a potato-based patty that became incredibly popular and is now a staple in Indian McDonald's. It highlights the fascinating tension between global standardization and local adaptation, a constant balancing act for these multinational corporations. Imagine trying to convince a Japanese customer that a Big Mac is just as good as a bowl of freshly made ramen. It took more than just a catchy jingle. It took cultural sensitivity. The hot dog, in particular, became an icon of American street food. Its origins are debated. Some say German immigrants brought the Frankfurter to America. Others point to specific vendors in New York or St. Louis. But regardless of its exact birthplace, its portability and affordability made it a perfect fit for the fast-paced urban environment. It was democratic food, accessible to everyone, from the factory worker to the office clerk. It was also, let's be honest, a bit of a culinary mystery. What exactly was in that sausage? Probably best not to ask too many questions when you're hungry and on a budget. It's a bit like wondering about the ingredients in a modern chicken nugget, isn't it? Some things are better left to the imagination. The academic debate surrounding the global spread of fast food often focuses on the concept of McDonaldization, the idea that the principles of efficiency, calculability, predictability, and control, exemplified by McDonald's, are increasingly dominating various aspects of global society. Some historians and sociologists argue that this process leads to cultural homogenization, eroding local traditions and replacing them with a standardized, often Americanized way of life. They point to the rise of obesity rates in countries where fast food has become prevalent and the decline of traditional culinary practices. Others contend that local cultures are not simply passive recipients, but actively adapt and integrate fast food into their existing traditions, creating unique hybrid forms. They argue that it's a dynamic process of cultural exchange, not just one-way imposition. It's like arguing whether a foreign language film loses its essence when subtitled, or if it gains a new audience. The impact is undeniable, but the interpretation is complex. As cities grew, so did the need for more structured, yet still quick, dining options. This led to the proliferation of the lunch counter. You step into a small, narrow establishment. A long counter stretches before you, lined with stools, often bolted to the floor. Behind the counter, a cook or server bustles about, flipping burgers, frying eggs, and pouring coffee. The menu is simple, often scrawled on a chalkboard: sandwiches, soups, chili, perhaps a slice of pie. You slide onto a stool, place your order, and within minutes, a hot meal is placed before you. The smells of fast food, once distinctly American, began to mingle with the diverse aromas of cities worldwide. In Beijing, the scent of a quarter pounder might blend with the spicy notes of Sichuan cuisine. In Paris, the aroma of French fries might waft alongside the rich scent of freshly baked croissants. These were new, sometimes jarring, olfactory juxtapositions, reflecting the collision of global and local food cultures. The sounds, too, became universal: the familiar sizzle of the grill, the cheerful jingle of the cash register, the happy chatter of children, now speaking a myriad of languages. This wasn't a place for lingering. The stools were often uncomfortable, designed for quick turnover. The atmosphere was functional, noisy, and efficient. You ate, you paid, you left, making way for the next hungry customer. These lunch counters were particularly popular with office workers, shoppers, and anyone who needed a quick, hot meal without the formality or expense of a full-service restaurant. They were the original grab-and-go sit-down experience, a hybrid that combined speed with a modicum of comfort. The impact of fast food on global diets was profound. In many countries, it introduced new types of food, new flavors, and a new concept of dining. It offered a convenient, affordable option for busy urban dwellers, often replacing more traditional, time-consuming meals. This shift had significant nutritional implications, contributing to the rise of processed food consumption and, in some cases, an increase in calorie intake and a decrease in dietary diversity. The convenience came at a cost, often a health cost. A common historical fact about this period is the rise of the diner. While lunch counters were often simple affairs, diners, particularly those built from prefabricated modules that could be shipped and assembled on site, began to offer a slightly more expanded menu and a distinct aesthetic. Think gleaming chrome, checkered floors, and red vinyl booths. They became cultural touchstones, places where you could get a full breakfast, a hearty burger, or a thick milkshake at almost any hour. They were still about speed and affordability, but with a dash of Americana thrown in. Beyond diet, fast food also influenced local economies and labor practices. The arrival of a major fast food chain often meant new job opportunities, but also sometimes led to concerns about low wages and standardized, repetitive work. It introduced new supply chains, sometimes displacing local producers in favor of large-scale industrial agriculture. The Golden Arches weren't just a restaurant, they were an economic engine, reshaping local landscapes in profound ways. An obscure detail from this era: many early lunch counters and diners operated on a cash-only basis, and the concept of tipping was still evolving. Some establishments even had strict rules about how long customers could occupy a stool, especially during peak hours. You weren't exactly encouraged to pull out a book and settle in for the afternoon. It was all about efficiency and maximizing profit per square foot. Imagine trying to explain the concept of free Wi-Fi to one of these proprietors. They'd probably just stare at you blankly and then point to the door. The cultural impact extended beyond just food. Fast food restaurants often became social hubs, particularly for young people, offering a place to gather, socialize, and experience a slice of American pop culture. They were seen as modern, trendy, and sometimes even a symbol of aspiration. For many, a visit to a fast food restaurant was an experience, a treat, a glimpse into a globalized world. It was a bit like getting a postcard from America, but one you could eat. The academic debate here often centers on whether these early American innovations were truly fast food in the modern sense, or simply an evolution of existing quick-service models. Some historians argue that the emphasis on standardization, the limited menu, and the focus on rapid service, particularly with the hot dog stands and later the lunch counters, laid the direct groundwork for the fast food chains of the mid-20th century. They see a clear lineage, a continuous development of the core principles. Others contend that the true revolution required the assembly line approach to food preparation, which came later with establishments like McDonald's. They argue that while these early places were quick, they weren't yet systematized in the way modern fast food is. It's like arguing whether a horse-drawn carriage is the same as a car, because they both get you from point A to point B. The function is similar, but the underlying mechanisms and scale are vastly different. The advertising campaigns that had been so successful in the U.S. were adapted for international markets, often featuring local celebrities and cultural references, while still retaining the core brand message of speed, convenience, and fun. The mascots, the jingles, the bright colors. These universal appeals transcended language barriers, creating a global iconography of fast food. You could be anywhere in the world, and those golden arches would still speak a universal language of hunger and satisfaction. The smells of these early American establishments would have been a tantalizing blend of frying onions, sizzling meat, brewing coffee, and the sweet scent of fresh-baked pies. The sounds would be a symphony of clattering dishes, the hiss of griddles, the chatter of customers, and the occasional clang of a bell signaling an order ready. It was a vibrant, energetic atmosphere, a stark contrast to the quiet, smoky thermopolia of ancient Rome. The sheer scale of this global expansion is staggering. Fast food chains now operate in virtually every country on Earth, serving billions of meals every year. They have become deeply embedded in the daily lives of people across diverse cultures. a testament to the enduring appeal of convenience and the power of a well-executed business model. It's a reminder that while the origins of fast food might be disturbing in their efficiency and their impact, their reach is undeniably global. As the 20th century dawned, the American landscape was changing rapidly. The automobile was becoming more common, and with it, the concept of mobility. People were traveling further, faster, and they needed food options that could keep pace. This laid the groundwork for the drive-in restaurants that would emerge in the coming decades. A truly revolutionary concept that would transform the way Americans ate. So, as you drift deeper into slumber, consider the vast network of golden arches and their competitors stretching across the globe. From ancient Roman street food to the meticulously engineered systems of the McDonald brothers, and finally to the global phenomenon we see today, the journey of fast food is a testament to human ingenuity, our insatiable desire for convenience, and the profound ways in which food shapes our world. But with this global reach comes new challenges, new questions about health, sustainability, and the very future of how we eat. The ingenuity of these early entrepreneurs cannot be overstated. They saw a need, a rapidly urbanizing, time-pressed population, and they filled it with simple, effective solutions. They weren't just selling food, they were selling convenience, efficiency, and a small slice of the American dream. The hot dog stand, the lunch counter, the diner. These were the crucibles in which the modern fast food industry was forged, piece by delicious, greasy piece. The golden arches and their global counterparts now stand as ubiquitous symbols of convenience, their reach extending into nearly every corner of the planet. But as the initial euphoria of speed and affordability began to wane, a darker, more disturbing side of this culinary revolution started to emerge. You are now entering the late 20th and early 21st centuries, an era of growing awareness, scientific scrutiny, and a stark reckoning with the unforeseen consequences of our insatiable appetite for fast food. You can almost feel the anticipation building, can't you? The quiet hum of the industrial era giving way to the roar of engines, the clatter of horse-drawn carriages replaced by the sleek lines of early automobiles. The stage is being set for a revolution, not just in how we eat, but in how we live, how we travel, and how we interact with the world around us. The craving for speed, for instant gratification, is about to find its ultimate expression on four wheels. Imagine yourself standing in a doctor's office, perhaps in the early 2000s. The news reports are filled with alarming statistics, rising rates of obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and a general decline in public health. You hear terms like empty calories, trans fats, and high fructose corn syrup becoming part of the common lexicon. The finger of blame, rightly or wrongly, often points directly at the fast food industry. Its convenient, affordable, and undeniably delicious offerings now seen by many as a significant contributor to a burgeoning health crisis. The roar of engines, once a distant, sputtering novelty, now grows louder, more insistent. You feel the rumble beneath your feet as sleek, boxy automobiles begin to dominate the roads, pushing aside the horse-drawn carriages that once held sway. The early 20th century is in full swing, and with it, a new kind of freedom is emerging, the freedom of the open road. Americans are falling in love with their cars, and this love affair is about to fundamentally transform not just how they travel, but how they eat. The sheer volume of fast food consumed globally is staggering, and with that volume comes a profound impact on public health. The typical fast food meal, designed for maximum palatability and low cost, is often high in calories, saturated fat, sodium, and sugar, while being notably low in essential nutrients like fiber, vitamins, and minerals. This nutritional imbalance, when consumed regularly, contributes to weight gain, metabolic disorders, and a host of chronic diseases. It's a bitter irony the food designed for speed and convenience is, in the long run, slowing us down and making us sicker. Imagine yourself cruising down a newly paved highway in the 1920s, perhaps somewhere in the burgeoning suburbs of Los Angeles. The sun is shining, the wind is in your hair, and you're feeling a sense of exhilaration that only true mobility can provide. But then, a familiar sensation strikes hunger. You're far from the bustling city centers with their lunch counters and hot dog stands. You're out on the open road, and pulling over for a traditional sit-down meal feels inconvenient. You don't want to park, walk inside, wait for service, and then get back in your car. You want to keep that feeling of motion, that sense of effortless progress. One of the most common historical facts about this health reckoning is the term supersizing. Popularized in the late 1990s and early 2000s, fast food chains, in an effort to increase sales and perceived value, began offering larger portion sizes for a minimal additional cost. This encouraged consumers to eat more than they needed, contributing directly to increased calorie intake and, consequently, rising obesity rates. The idea was simple: give them more for less, and they'll come back for more. The unintended consequence was a significant expansion of waistlines across the developed world. It was a clever marketing trick, but one with serious public health implications. This is the moment, the precise intersection of automotive culture and human appetite, where the drive-in dream truly began to take shape. Someone, somewhere, had a brilliant, almost revolutionary idea. What if the food came to you, right in your car? What if you never had to leave the comfort of your upholstered seat? It sounds so simple now, so obvious, but at the time, it was a stroke of genius, a direct response to a burgeoning lifestyle. But the health concerns weren't just about the quantity of food, they were also about the quality. The industrialization of the food supply chain, driven in part by the demands of fast food chains for standardized, cheap ingredients, led to a reliance on highly processed components. Think about the journey of a potato from the field to a perfectly uniform French fry, or a chicken from a farm to a perfectly shaped nugget. This process often involves significant processing, additives, and a reduction in nutritional value. The food became less food and more a food product, engineered for taste and shelf life, rather than health. The very first drive-in restaurants weren't the elaborate affairs you might picture from 1950s movies. They were often simple roadside stands, sometimes just a shack with a small kitchen and a large parking lot. You'd pull up, perhaps flash your headlights or honk your horn, and a server, often called a car hop, would come out to your vehicle. They'd take your order, disappear into the kitchen, and then return, balancing a tray of food, often hooked onto your car window. It was magical, a seamless blend of automotive freedom and culinary convenience. An obscure detail from this period. Did you know that some early fast food chains actually faced lawsuits from consumers alleging that their products contributed to obesity and health problems? While these lawsuits largely failed to gain traction in court, they highlighted a growing public awareness and concern about the long-term health effects of a fast food-heavy diet. It was a sign that the honeymoon phase of unquestioning convenience was over, and consumers were beginning to ask harder questions about what they were putting into their bodies. Imagine trying to sue a Roman thermopolium for giving you indigestion. Probably wouldn't have gone over well. The menu was typically simple, designed for quick preparation and easy consumption in a car. Burgers, fries, milkshakes, and sodas became the staples. These were foods that could be eaten with one hand, minimizing spills and maximizing the enjoyment of the open-air dining experience. The burger, in particular, was perfectly suited for this new format. It was portable, filling, and endlessly customizable. You could add cheese, onions, pickles, and it still remained a neat, self-contained package. It was the ultimate road trip fuel, long before anyone coined that term. The academic debate surrounding the fast food industry's role in the obesity epidemic is intense and ongoing. Some public health experts and researchers argue that fast food is a primary driver of poor diets and rising chronic disease rates, particularly among low-income populations who may have limited access to healthier, affordable options. They emphasize the aggressive marketing, the high calorie counts, and the addictive nature of sugar, fat, and salt. Others contend that fast food is just one piece of a much larger, more complex puzzle, and that factors like sedentary lifestyles, genetics, and overall dietary patterns play an equally significant role. They argue that blaming fast food alone oversimplifies a multifaceted public health challenge. It's like arguing whether a single drop of rain is responsible for a flood. It contributes, but it's part of a much larger system. A common historical fact about the drive-in is that the first one is widely credited to Kirby's Pig Stand in Dallas, Texas, opened in 1921. It offered barbecue sandwiches and root beer, served directly to customers in their cars. This wasn't just a restaurant, it was an experience, a novelty that quickly captured the imagination of a car-obsessed nation. People didn't just go there for the food, they went for the spectacle, for the sheer coolness of it all. It was the original Instagrammable moment, long before cameras were even a twinkle in a smartphone's eye. Beyond the immediate health concerns, the environmental footprint of the fast food industry began to come under intense scrutiny. The sheer scale of operations, from ingredient sourcing to waste disposal, has a massive impact on the planet. An obscure detail from this era: many early drive-ins used a system of colored lights or flags to signal when a car hop was needed or when an order was ready. You might pull into a spot and see a small pole with a button or a flag, a rudimentary form of call system. It was a low-tech solution to a high-demand problem, ensuring that customers could get service without having to shout or honk excessively. Imagine trying to explain that to someone used to ordering on a touchscreen. So, I just wave a flag for my burger. Yes, darling, you wave a flag. And you liked it. Consider the meat industry, particularly beef, which is a cornerstone of many fast food menus. The production of beef is incredibly resource-intensive, requiring vast amounts of land for grazing and feed crops, significant water usage, and contributing substantially to greenhouse gas emissions, particularly methane. The clear-cutting of rainforests for cattle ranching in some parts of the world became a stark symbol of the environmental cost of our burger consumption. It's a sobering thought every bite of that juicy burger might have a hidden environmental price tag. The academic debate surrounding the drive-in often revolves around whether it represents the true birth of modern fast food, or if it was merely a transitional phase. Some historians argue that the drive-in, with its emphasis on speed, limited menu, and the innovative service model car hops, laid the essential groundwork for the assembly line efficiency that would define later fast food chains. They see it as the crucial link between the simple lunch counter and the highly systematized operations of McDonald's. Others contend that while the drive-in was certainly influential, it still lacked the full standardization and mass production techniques that characterize the true fast food revolution. They argue it was more about novelty and convenience for the car owner, rather than a fundamental shift in food preparation itself. It's like arguing whether a prototype airplane is the same as a commercial jetliner. Both fly, but the scale and underlying technology are vastly different. Then there's the issue of waste. Fast food, by its very nature, generates an enormous amount of single-use packaging paper wrappers, plastic cups, cardboard containers, and disposable cutlery, while some efforts have been made towards recycling and biodegradable materials. A significant portion of this waste still ends up in landfills, contributing to pollution and resource depletion. Imagine the mountains of discarded wrappers and cups generated every day by billions of fast food meals. It's a visual representation of our throwaway culture. The smells of a 1930s drive-in would have been intoxicating: the rich aroma of grilling meat, the sweet scent of vanilla from milkshakes, the crisp, salty tang of freshly fried potatoes, and perhaps a faint undertone of gasoline and exhaust fumes. A unique blend of culinary delight and automotive reality. The sounds would be a symphony of car engines idling, the occasional honk, the clatter of trays, the murmur of conversations, and the distant tinny music from a car radio. It was a sensory experience, a snapshot of a particular moment in American history. The transportation of ingredients and finished products also adds to the carbon footprint, from farms to processing plants, to distribution centers, and finally, to thousands of restaurants worldwide. The logistics of the fast food supply chain involve a massive network of trucks, ships, and planes, all burning fossil fuels. It's a global ballet of consumption, with environmental consequences at every step. As the drive-in concept spread, it became more sophisticated. Some establishments began to incorporate speaker systems, allowing customers to place orders without a car hop initially, further streamlining the process. The architecture evolved too, with some drive-ins featuring elaborate neon signs and distinctive designs, becoming landmarks in their own right. They weren't just places to eat, they were destinations. Social hubs where teenagers would cruise, families would gather, and young couples would go on dates. The car became an extension of the dining room, a private booth on wheels. The academic debate on the environmental impact of fast food often focuses on the concept of food miles and sustainable sourcing. Some environmentalists argue for a radical shift towards localized food systems and plant-based diets to reduce the ecological footprint of our food consumption, seeing fast food as a prime example of an unsustainable model. They advocate for greater transparency in supply chains and stricter regulations on waste. Others contend that the sheer scale of global food demand necessitates some level of industrialization, and that the focus should be on improving the efficiency and sustainability of existing large-scale agricultural practices, rather than dismantling them entirely. It's like arguing whether we should stop driving cars or just make them more fuel efficient. Both approaches have merit, but the scope of change is vastly different. The rise of the drive-in also coincided with the post-World War II economic boom, which put more cars in more garages and more disposable income in more pockets. The American dream was increasingly tied to car ownership, and the drive-in was the perfect complement to this new, mobile lifestyle. It was a symbol of prosperity, of freedom, and of a future that was fast and convenient. You could almost hear the collective sigh of relief from parents who no longer had to drag their kids out of the car for a meal. Just stay put, kids. The food's coming to you. The smells associated with this reckoning are less about delicious food, and more about the uncomfortable truths, the faint, acrid smell of landfill gases, the subtle scent of agricultural runoff, and the metaphorical odor of corporate responsibility, or lack thereof. The sounds are the urgent warnings from scientists, the passionate pleas from environmental activists, and the growing murmur of public concern. The drive-in also played a significant role in the development of standardized menus and ingredients. To serve food quickly to a high volume of cars, consistency was key. This meant using similar recipes, similar cooking methods, and often similar suppliers. While not yet the hyper-standardized systems of later chains, the drive-in pushed the industry towards greater uniformity, a crucial step on the path to true mass production. It was a subtle but powerful force, shaping consumer expectations for consistency and speed. In response to these mounting criticisms, the fast food industry has, to varying degrees, begun to adapt. You see menu boards featuring healthier options, salads, grilled chicken, apple slices instead of fries. There are commitments to sustainable sourcing, efforts to reduce packaging waste, and even investments in plant-based alternatives. These changes are often incremental, sometimes driven by genuine concern, and sometimes by the undeniable pressure of public opinion and regulatory threats. It's a slow, often reluctant, pivot, but a pivot nonetheless. So, as you settle deeper into your dreams, imagine the glow of neon signs reflecting off polished chrome, the scent of burgers and fries mingling with the night air, and the quiet hum of engines. The drive-in was more than just a restaurant. It was a cultural phenomenon, a testament to American ingenuity, and a vital stepping stone in the disturbing, yet undeniably fascinating, history of fast food. The stage is now perfectly set for the next act, where speed and efficiency will be taken to an entirely new, almost terrifying level. The future of fast food, then, is a complex balancing act. How do you maintain the core appeal of speed, convenience, and affordability, while simultaneously addressing the profound health and environmental challenges that have emerged from its very success? It's a question that will continue to shape the industry, and indeed, our diets and our planet, for decades to come. The disturbing origins of fast food have led us to a disturbing present. But perhaps, just perhaps, there's a path towards a more sustainable and healthier future. The hum of engines fades into a distant memory, replaced by the rhythmic sizzle of a griddle and the precise, almost surgical, movements of a handful of men. You've arrived in San Bernardino, California, in the late 1940s, a time when the post-war boom is just beginning to swell, and the American dream is taking on a shiny suburban sheen. The drive-in, as you remember it, was a marvel of convenience. But what you're about to witness is a revolution, a meticulous re-engineering of the very act of making and serving food. This is where the true genesis of modern fast food, as we know it, occurs. The lingering scent of landfill gases and the echoes of public health warnings still hang in the air. A stark reminder of the uncomfortable truths unearthed in the last chapter. But as you shift in your metaphorical seat, the atmosphere begins to change once more. The distant hum you now perceive is not of factories or cars, but of data servers, drone propellers, and the subtle whir of robotic arms. You are now peering into the crystal ball, into the near future, where the fast food industry, confronted by its past and present challenges, is attempting to redefine itself. This is the future of fast food, a complex dance between enduring desires and urgent necessities. You're standing outside a modest, octagonal building, its yellow and red facade hinting at something cheerful, yet remarkably efficient. This isn't a grand diner with chrome and neon. It's something far more utilitarian, almost industrial in its design. This is the McDonald Brothers restaurant, and they've done something truly radical. They've looked at the drive-in model, with its car hops and extensive menus, and seen not just opportunity, but inefficiency. They've decided to strip away everything non-essential, to streamline, to perfect. Imagine yourself in a bustling urban center, perhaps in the year 2035. The golden arches are still there, but they look a little different. The drive-thru lane might be serviced by automated kiosks, or even a voice AI that takes your order with uncanny precision. Inside, you might see fewer human hands assembling your meal, replaced by robotic fryers and burger flippers, operating with tireless efficiency. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's the logical extension of the speedy service system, taken to its ultimate, automated conclusion. The pursuit of efficiency, the very core of fast food's disturbing origins, continues unabated, driven now by artificial intelligence and advanced robotics. The first thing you notice is the absence of car hops. Instead, you walk up to a counter. The menu is strikingly, almost shockingly, small hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fries, milkshakes, and soft drinks. No barbecue sandwiches, no elaborate sundaes, no endless permutations. This limited menu is not a sign of scarcity. It's a deliberate choice, a cornerstone of their new system. By focusing on a few core items, they can master their preparation, ensuring speed and consistency. It's a bold move, almost counterintuitive in an era where bigger menus often meant more perceived value. The push for automation is a direct response to rising labor costs, the demand for even greater speed, and the desire for absolute consistency. Robots don't call in sick, they don't demand raises, and they can work 24/7 without complaint. They can also execute tasks with a level of precision that human hands often struggle to match. Your burger will be cooked to the exact same temperature. Your fries will be fried for the exact same duration, every single time. This hyper-standardization, once a manual process, is now becoming algorithmic, almost flawless. It makes you wonder if we'll ever miss the occasional human error, the slightly overcooked patty that added character, or the extra handful of fries that felt like a bonus. Probably not, if we're being honest. But the real magic, the truly disturbing genius, happens behind the counter. This is where the speedy service system comes alive. Imagine a meticulously choreographed dance, a ballet of efficiency. Each employee has a specific, repetitive task. One person is dedicated solely to grilling burgers, another to assembling them, another to frying potatoes, another to making shakes. There's no wasted motion, no overlapping responsibilities. It's an assembly line. But for food, one common historical fact about the current trajectory is the rapid growth of delivery apps and ghost kitchens. You no longer need a physical restaurant with seating. You just need a kitchen optimized for delivery. These ghost kitchens, often located in industrial parks or repurposed warehouses, churn out meals under various virtual brand names, all delivered directly to your doorstep. This model reduces overhead costs dramatically, allowing for even greater affordability and reach. It's the drive-thru without the drive, the ultimate expression of convenience brought directly to your couch. Imagine a future where you don't even know where your food is coming from, just that it arrives quickly. You watch as a burger patty hits the griddle, sizzling in perfect synchronicity with a dozen others. As soon as it's cooked, it's slid onto a bun, dressed with predetermined amounts of ketchup, mustard, and pickles. And then wrapped. No custom orders, no special requests slowing down the line. The fries are scooped from a large, constantly replenished batch, salted with precision, and bagged. The milkshakes are pre-mixed, ready to be poured into cups with a quick flick of the wrist. It's less like cooking and more like manufacturing. But the future of fast food isn't just about automation and delivery. It's also about a profound shift in what consumers demand. The health reckoning of the early 21st century has left an indelible mark. People are more aware of nutritional content, more concerned about ingredients, and increasingly vocal about their desire for healthier options. Fast food chains, once resistant to change, are now scrambling to adapt. You see menu boards featuring plant-based burgers, salads with superfoods, and fruit slices replacing sugary desserts. This isn't just a trend. It's a fundamental reevaluation of the industry's core product. This wasn't an accidental discovery. The McDonald brothers, Richard and Maurice, were meticulous observers. They watched their existing drive-in operation, timing every step, identifying bottlenecks, and brainstorming ways to eliminate them. They even drew chalk outlines of their kitchen on a tennis court, practicing the movements, refining the flow, until it was as smooth and efficient as a well-oiled machine. This level of scientific management, applied to a kitchen, was revolutionary. It was Frederick Winslow Taylor's principles of scientific management, usually applied to factories, now brought to the humble hamburger. The rise of plant-based alternatives is perhaps the most significant shift. Imagine biting into a burger that looks, smells, and even bleeds like meat, but is entirely made from plants. Companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods have revolutionized the market, offering compelling alternatives that appeal not just to vegetarians and vegans, but to a broader consumer base concerned about health, ethics, and the environment. Fast food chains, recognizing the demand, are rapidly incorporating these options into their menus. It's a pragmatic move, a way to stay relevant in a changing world. And let's be honest, it's a lot easier to market a plant-based burger than to try and explain how your chicken nuggets are nutritious. A common historical fact about this innovation is that the McDonald brothers drastically cut down the service time from around 30 minutes at a traditional drive-in to mere seconds for a hamburger. This speed was unprecedented and became their primary selling point. You didn't just get a meal, you got your time back. In a world increasingly driven by the clock, this was an incredibly powerful proposition. It was the ultimate convenience, reducing the act of eating to its bare, most efficient minimum. An obscure detail from this burgeoning future. Some companies are even experimenting with lab-grown meat, also known as cultivated meat. Imagine a future where your burger patty isn't from an animal that was raised and slaughtered, but grown from a few cells in a bioreactor. This technology promises to drastically reduce the environmental footprint of meat production, eliminate the need for animal slaughter, and potentially offer a safer, more controlled product. While still in its nascent stages and facing significant regulatory and consumer acceptance hurdles, it represents the ultimate industrialization of meat, a complete decoupling from traditional agriculture. It's a concept that might make your stomach churn a little, but it's a very real possibility, an obscure detail from this era. The McDonald brothers initially experimented with a self-service model where customers would pick up their own food from a heated bin, much like a cafeteria. While this didn't fully take off, it shows their relentless pursuit of efficiency and their willingness to challenge conventional restaurant practices. They were thinking far beyond the typical diner or drive-in, pushing the boundaries of what a food service establishment could be. Imagine if that had caught on. You'd be rummaging through bins for your burger today, probably for the best that it didn't. The academic debate surrounding the future of fast food is multifaceted. One major point of contention is whether the industry can truly become healthy and sustainable while maintaining its core principles of affordability, speed, and consistency. Some experts argue that the inherent business model of fast food, which relies on high volume and low cost, is fundamentally incompatible with truly nutritious and environmentally friendly practices. They contend that healthier options are often just marketing ploys, and that real change requires a complete overhaul of the food system. Others believe that incremental changes, driven by consumer demand and technological innovation, can indeed lead to a more responsible fast food industry, one that balances profit with planetary and public well-being. It's like arguing whether a giant oil tanker can truly become a sailboat. It might adopt some sails, but its core engine remains the same. The academic debate surrounding the McDonald brothers often focuses on whether they were truly the inventors of fast food, or simply the perfecters of an existing concept. Some historians argue that their speedy service system, with its radical emphasis on assembly line production, limited menu, and self-service, represents the definitive break from traditional restaurants and the true birth of the modern fast food industry. They contend that this systematization was the missing link, transforming convenience into a scalable, replicable model. Others maintain that the drive-ins and lunch counters already laid the conceptual groundwork, and the McDonald brothers merely optimized and refined these existing ideas. It's like arguing whether Henry Ford invented the car or just perfected its mass production. The impact, regardless, was undeniable. The smells of the future fast food might be more diverse, less intensely focused on fried meat. You might detect the earthy aroma of plant-based proteins, the fresh scent of hydroponically grown greens, and perhaps even the clean, almost sterile smell of automated kitchens. The sounds could be quieter, too, with the hum of robots replacing the clatter of human activity, punctuated by the occasional chime of a delivery drone arriving at your window. It's a more controlled, perhaps less chaotic, sensory experience. The smells inside the speedy service system kitchen would have been intensely focused. The concentrated aroma of grilling beef, the distinct scent of hot oil from the fryers, and the sweet, creamy notes of milkshakes. Gone were the diverse smells of a broad menu. Here, it was a symphony of a few, perfectly executed aromas. The sounds would be a rhythmic hiss of the grill, the clatter of spatulas, the whir of milkshake machines, and the constant, reassuring rustle of paper wrappers. It was a precise, almost hypnotic environment, a testament to the power of repetition and specialization. Personalization and customization are also becoming increasingly important. Imagine ordering your meal through an app that remembers your preferences, suggests new items based on your past choices, and even allows you to fine-tune every ingredient. This level of data-driven customization goes far beyond the simple, hold the pickles of yesteryear. It's about creating a bespoke fast food experience, tailored to your individual tastes and dietary needs. It's a bit like having a personal chef, but one who works at lightning speed and costs next to nothing. The brilliance of the speedy service system wasn't just about speed. It was about consistency and affordability. By streamlining the process, they reduced labor costs and waste, allowing them to sell their hamburgers for a remarkably low price, just 15 cents. This made fast food accessible to an even wider segment of the population, democratizing the quick meal. It was no longer just for the wealthy or those with cars, it was for everyone. This affordability, combined with the speed, was a potent combination that would soon sweep the nation. The role of technology extends beyond just food preparation. Supply chains are becoming even more sophisticated, leveraging AI and blockchain to track ingredients from farm to fork, ensuring transparency and accountability. Delivery logistics are optimized by algorithms, predicting demand and routing drivers with unparalleled efficiency. The entire ecosystem of fast food is becoming a vast, interconnected digital network designed to deliver maximum convenience with minimal friction. The McDonald brothers didn't just change how food was made, they changed how people expected food to be made. They set a new standard for speed, consistency, and value. Their system was a blueprint, a scalable model that could be replicated anywhere. This replicability was key. It meant that the same efficient, profitable operation could be set up in town after town, city after city, ensuring a consistent product and experience for customers, no matter where they were. However, the fundamental tension remains. The core appeal of fast food has always been its affordability and accessibility. Can truly healthy, sustainably sourced, and ethically produced food be delivered at the same speed and price point? This is the central challenge facing the industry. There's a constant pressure to keep costs down, which often conflicts with the desire for higher quality ingredients and more ethical practices. It's a tightrope walk, and the industry is constantly trying to find its balance. You can almost feel the shift in the air, the subtle but profound change in the culinary landscape. The leisurely pace of the drive-in, with its car hops and diverse menu, is giving way to something leaner, faster, and infinitely more scalable. This isn't just a restaurant, it's a prototype for an empire, a meticulously engineered machine designed to churn out millions, then billions, of identical, quickly served meals. The stage is now set for the rapid expansion of this model, for the golden arches to spread across the land, transforming not just how we eat, but the very fabric of our communities. The future might also see a blurring of lines between traditional restaurants and fast food. Fine dining establishments might offer quick-service lunch menus, while fast food chains might elevate their offerings to attract a more discerning clientele. The concept of fast casual has already emerged, bridging the gap between quick service and a more premium dining experience. This evolution suggests a more diverse, fragmented landscape, where consumers have more choices, but also more responsibility to understand what they are eating. The precise, almost hypnotic rhythm of the speedy service system still echoes in your mind, a testament to the McDonald brothers' revolutionary efficiency. But as you watch, a new figure emerges from the shadows, a man whose vision would take that meticulously crafted blueprint and transform it into a global phenomenon. You are now standing in the mid-1950s, the era of burgeoning suburbs, television sets in every home, and a nation eager for convenience and consistency. This is where the true rise of the chains begins. A story less about culinary innovation and more about marketing genius and relentless expansion. So, as you drift deeper into slumber, consider the complex, ever-evolving landscape of fast food. From the ancient Roman thermopolia to the automated kitchens of tomorrow, the human desire for quick, convenient sustenance has driven innovation and transformation. The journey has been disturbing at times, marked by unforeseen health and environmental consequences. But the future, with its technological marvels and its growing awareness, offers a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, fast food can evolve into something that nourishes both our bodies and our planet, a testament to our ability to adapt and improve. Or maybe, just maybe, it will continue to be a delicious, convenient, and slightly disturbing indulgence. Only time will tell. And so, we have come a long way, from the dusty streets of ancient Rome, through the steaming factories of the Industrial Revolution, to the traffic-filled highways of America, and finally to the automated kitchens of the future. You have seen how a simple need, fast food, has driven innovation, created complex systems, and reshaped the way we live. The story of fast food is not just about burgers and fries. It is a story about human evolution, about our ingenuity, and about the unintended consequences of relentless convenience. Imagine a bustling trade show in Chicago in 1954. The air is thick with the scent of popcorn, the hum of machinery, and the excited chatter of entrepreneurs looking for the next big thing. You see a man, impeccably dressed, with a determined glint in his eye, watching a demonstration of a multi-spindle milkshake machine. This is Ray Kroc, a milkshake machine salesman, and he's about to have an epiphany that will change the face of the food industry forever. He's heard about the McDonald brothers restaurant in San Bernardino. the one that orders an astonishing number of his machines. Intrigued, he makes the journey to California. Let these images fade into your mind. The jingle of ancient coins, the whir of factory whistles, the hum of car engines, and the whisper of algorithms all blend into a peaceful symphony. You've explored the disturbing roots, but there's no denying the appeal of a quick, easy meal. Sometimes the most disturbing things are the things we crave the most. Take a deep breath. Feel the silence envelop you, and let your mind drift off to sleep. It's all right, and the story is over. What Kroc finds isn't just a successful restaurant, it's a perfectly oiled machine, a system capable of churning out consistent, affordable food at an unprecedented rate. He doesn't see just hamburgers, he sees an empire. He sees the potential for replication, for taking this perfected model and scaling it across the entire nation, then the world. The McDonald brothers were content with their successful single location and a few scattered franchises. Kroc, however, had a different kind of hunger, a hunger for scale, for ubiquity.